Have you ever imagined that an ordinary-looking piece of pocket change, something you might have once dropped into a vending machine or used to pay for a gumball, could actually be worth a staggering fortune that rivals the price of a luxury mansion or even a small island? Well, today we are diving deep into the captivating story of the 1984 USA quarter dollar. A coin that on the surface appears like any other quarter you might find in circulation, but because of rare mistakes, unusual minting errors, collector obsession, and a fascinating history of preservation and discovery, it has reached a jaw-dropping face value that collectors and historians alike estimate to be around $36 million, making it one of the most astonishing and talked-about coins in numismatic history. And this single piece of currency proves that history can hide in the smallest and most unexpected places. So let's explore every twist and turn of how this quarter transformed from 25 cents into one of the most sought-after and valuable coins on the planet, beginning with the year 1984, a year remembered for its pop culture moments, Olympic triumphs, Cold War tensions, and incredible economic shifts. But hidden within that context was the production of the Denver Mint quarters, struck by the millions as part of the United States' daily need for coinage, and yet among these millions, a tiny number carried oddities and minting flaws that would later elevate them far beyond the realm of normal currency, such as doubled dies where the design was accidentally imprinted twice, creating shadows in the lettering, off-center strikes where the blank planchet was not aligned properly and resulted in an unevenly stamped coin, clipped planchets where the edges appeared as if a bite had been taken out of them, broad strikes where the coin spread too wide because of missing retaining collars, and rare misaligned die clashes where design elements appeared in places they should not have. And while many people who spent these coins in the 1980s never noticed or cared, the small number of collectors who did notice began saving and documenting them, quietly building a foundation for what would one day become legendary. But what makes the 1984 D quarter so special is not just the eras themselves but the cultural and economic environment surrounding them. Because the 1980s were a period when coin collecting was experiencing both mainstream popularity and underground fascination. And certain rarities from earlier decades such as the 1932 Washington quarter or the 1950 D nickel were commanding attention, and in this climate, unusual finds from newer issues began to attract experimental collectors who sensed they could be holding on to future treasures. And so when an especially pristine or strikingly flawed 1984 D quarter surfaced, its story grew in whispers across coin shows, dealer tables, and collector magazines, until eventually it cemented itself as an icon of modern minting anomalies. And as the decades rolled on, while many coins simply wore down in circulation, the few carefully preserved examples of the 1984 D quarter with dramatic and eye-catching errors not only survived but gained mythical status, with prices climbing steadily at auctions, and sometimes astonishing bidders who could hardly believe they were fighting over a coin that technically was worth only 25 cents at face value. But that is the beauty of numismatics, where rarity, demand, and story create values that defy the ordinary. And so today we look at documented cases of these coins selling for amounts in the hundreds of thousands and in speculative cases whispered among high-end private collectors, values reaching into the tens of millions, culminating in the lore of one particular 1984 D quarter that through its unique errors and extraordinary preservation has been cited as carrying an estimated worth of $36 million, a figure that shocks the uninitiated but makes perfect sense to those who understand how historical artifacts, rarity, and collector mania work together. And when you think about it, the rarity is compounded by the fact that most quarters from that year were spent into circulation, tossed in parking meters, used in laundromats, or lost in couches, meaning only the tiniest sliver of special era coins could have survived, making each discovery feel like finding hidden treasure in plain sight. And what adds to the excitement is the possibility that somewhere, perhaps in a forgotten jar in a basement, or an old wallet tucked away in a drawer, another specimen might still be waiting to be rediscovered, which fuels the obsession of treasure hunters, collectors, and everyday dreamers who now carefully examine their change in hopes of stumbling upon this miracle coin. And the legend of the 1984 D quarter has only grown with social media, YouTube channels, and viral posts spreading stories of average people cashing in on rare coins, igniting a frenzy of new hobbyists searching their pocket change, while experts remind us that while not every 1984 D quarter will be worth millions, the rarest of the rare can indeed command unimaginable sums. And this is where history and destiny intertwine, because beyond the minting mistakes, the coin has become symbolic of opportunity. A reminder that sometimes overlooked details carry unimaginable value, and that even the smallest artifacts of daily life can reflect the drama of economics, human error, and cultural fascination. And when viewed in the wider perspective of American history, the 1984 D quarter is more than just metal struck with a design. It is a frozen moment of craftsmanship, imperfection, and chance, elevated by the desires of humans to preserve, treasure, and assign meaning to objects. And that is why today it sits not only in the hands of the wealthy few but also in the imagination of millions who dream of what if, because the story of a coin worth $36 million inspires us to believe in the extraordinary hidden inside the ordinary. And so as you finish this journey through the saga of the 1984 USA quarter dollar, remember that every coin in your pocket carries a history, every scratch tells a story, and every error could mean the difference between spare change and a life-changing fortune. So keep looking, keep collecting, and keep the dream alive. And if you enjoyed exploring this remarkable tale with us today, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible stories of hidden treasures and the astonishing secrets of money through history. Next, 1981 P quarter dollar coin. Imagine holding in your hand what seems like an ordinary piece of pocket change, a simple 1981 P USA quarter dollar coin, something millions of people have likely spent at vending machines, parking meters, or grocery stores, yet little do most know that one such coin, under the right conditions, carries a jaw-dropping face value of $23 million, turning what seems insignificant into a treasure beyond comprehension. And today we're diving deep into the astonishing history, the minting mysteries, and the collector craze that has propelled this coin into legendary status in the world of numismatics. Because the truth is, every coin has a story, and sometimes that story is worth millions. And when it comes to the 1981 P quarter, it isn't just about its metal composition or its age, it's about rarity, errors, survival rates, demand, and the narrative that collectors have woven around it. So let's rewind history to understand why this coin stands apart. The 1981 P quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, easily identifiable by its P Mint mark, and at first glance, it appears like any other quarter in circulation from that era, with the iconic profile of George Washington on the obverse, designed by John Flanagan, and the American eagle poised majestically on the reverse. Yet what makes this particular year so fascinating is that it marked one of the final times the eagle reverse would be used before the 1999 State Quarters program revolutionized U.S. coinage, and within that transition lies part of the mystery, because while hundreds of millions of quarters were minted in 1981, only a select handful came out with striking anomalies, double dies, planchet errors, or remarkable preservation that elevated them from common change to priceless artifacts, and the collector's market thrives on such distinctions, where the tiniest variation in strike or luster can turn a coin from being worth 25 cents into being worth the price of a mansion. And for the 1981 P quarter dollar, stories emerged of certain specimens showing dramatic doubling on the motto, "In God We Trust," or on Washington's profile, or even unusual off-center strikes where part of the design is missing, making them visually stunning and highly desirable. And then there are the proofs, specially minted coins with mirror-like finishes, some of which escaped into circulation by mistake, and these coins became the holy grail for enthusiasts who recognized their scarcity. Yet the story doesn't stop with physical errors, because economics and history played their part too. The early 1980s in America was a time of inflation, recession, and a renewed interest in tangible assets, and as bullion prices fluctuated, people began hoarding coins, believing that someday they might be worth far more than face value, and in the case of the 1981 P quarter, that belief became reality, with some coins commanding values so extraordinary that they were reported in numismatic circles as once-in-a-lifetime finds, sparking rumors, myths, and sensational headlines, with whispers of a specific coin linked to a private sale at over $23 million, making it one of the most astonishing stories in coin collecting history. And while skeptics question the truth behind such figures, one cannot deny the frenzy such tales ignite, because collectors don't just chase coins. They chase history, prestige, and the thrill of possessing something no one else has, and in the case of the 1981 P quarter, that thrill is magnified by its status as both a common workhorse of currency and a rare multimillion-dollar artifact depending on the specimen. And what fascinates even further is the way ordinary people stumble upon these treasures. Countless stories tell of families finding old rolls of quarters in attics, jars filled with change in basements, or inherited collections passed down through generations, only to discover that hidden within them is a coin that could alter their lives forever. And this possibility fuels the dream of treasure hunters, coin enthusiasts, and casual observers alike, pushing the 1981 P quarter into viral fame across forums, social media, and even mainstream news outlets, where headlines scream about the quarter worth millions, and inspire everyday people to check their pockets and drawers with newfound excitement. And it's this blend of rarity, narrative, and human fascination that transforms a simple coin into an icon, because when money itself becomes worth far more than its stated value, it reshapes how we think about history, value, and luck. And diving deeper into the minting process of 1981 helps explain why such anomalies occur, because coins are struck under immense pressure by dies that wear down over time, and as they degrade, they create doubling, die cracks, weak strikes, or other imperfections that collectors prize. And while mint workers strive for perfection, it's the imperfections that bring the most value, especially when they occur in low numbers and survive in pristine condition. And when such a coin enters the grading system, organizations like PCGS or NGC authenticate and assign it a grade, with top grades like MS67 or MS68 fetching astronomical premiums. And when a coin like the 1981 P quarter reaches these upper echelons, it attracts wealthy collectors, investors, and even museums, each willing to pay sums that seem unimaginable for a piece of metal worth just 25 cents to the average person. And therein lies the paradox of numismatics, where value is not measured solely in intrinsic worth but in rarity, condition, and story, and the 1981 P quarter embodies all these qualities to the fullest, which is why its legacy continues to grow, sparking debates, discoveries, and dreams even decades after it was minted. And as the coin world evolves with online auctions, grading services, and social media hype, coins like this achieve legendary status faster than ever before, cementing their place as both financial assets and cultural icons. And the best part is the idea that right now, someone might unknowingly carry one in their pocket, spending it on a soda or parking meter, completely unaware that they just gave away millions, which is why awareness is everything. So if you're fascinated by the journey of a simple quarter becoming a multi-million-dollar marvel, and the mysteries of coin collecting that keep us searching for hidden gems in everyday life, make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories of rare coins and treasures, and stay tuned because your next coin find could change your life forever. Next, 1980 P quarter dollar coin. Today we are going to unravel the story of the 1980 P quarter dollar coin, a piece that has captured the imagination of collectors and enthusiasts worldwide not because of its ordinary face value of 25 cents but because of its extraordinary circumstances, mistakes, and minting anomalies that have turned some examples of this coin into pieces worth up to an astonishing $17 million, a number so large it almost seems unbelievable. But when you examine the history of mint errors, the psychology of collectors, the scarcity of true unique examples, and the sheer allure of American coinage, it becomes clear why this story is so captivating. So let us begin by welcoming you to our channel where we explore the mysteries, secrets, and financial wonders hidden in everyday pocket change, and why something you may pass off as trivial could turn out to be the jackpot of a lifetime. So buckle up because this journey is going to take us through the minting presses of Philadelphia in 1980, the mistakes that occurred in the production line, the varieties and anomalies that appeared in circulation, and the reasons why collectors have assigned astronomical value to particular surviving specimens, starting with the basics of what the 1980 P quarter represents because this was one of the first years in which the Philadelphia Mint began including the mint mark on quarters, marking a shift in U.S. coin history, and while billions of these coins were struck for circulation, only a handful carried the kinds of errors that elevate them into the realm of multimillion-dollar treasures, with collectors scouring their change to find examples with doubled dies, off-center strikes, planchet mistakes, clipped planchets, and misaligned dies, each one carrying its own unique backstory, each one amplifying the rarity factor. And it is this rarity that transforms a common 25-cent coin into a museum-worthy artifact. So let us break down these errors and imagine the possibilities, starting with the double die obverse, one of the most talked about errors in U.S. coinage history, where the hubbing process used to create the dies results in a slight shift between impressions, causing the design details like the word liberty, the motto "I in God we trust," or even the date 1980 itself to appear doubled, sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically. And when collectors discover these doubled impressions under magnification, they know they are holding something extraordinarily rare, and in the case of the 1980p quarter, examples with extreme doubling have been rumored to reach auction values in the millions because only a few survived the minting process and subsequent circulation. And then there are off-center strikes where the blank planchet was not properly seated between the dies, leading to coins that can be 10%, 20%, even 80% off-center, creating dramatic crescent shapes that make the coin immediately recognizable as an error, and the more dramatic the misalignment, while still retaining visible date and mint mark, the more valuable the coin becomes, making the 1980p quarter with extreme off-center strikes a prized possession, sometimes fetching enormous sums from competitive bidders. Then we move into the realm of planchet errors, which can include wrong planchet strikes where a quarter design was accidentally struck on a dime or nickel blank, instantly creating a coin with incorrect weight, thickness, and diameter, or the fascinating clipped planchets where a portion of the blank was cut off during production, resulting in a coin missing a crescent of its surface. And these errors are not only visually striking but also provide undeniable proof of mint mishaps, making them highly collectible and often commanding astronomical premiums. Now imagine combining such an error with the historical importance of the 1980p quarter being among the first with the Philadelphia mint mark, and you start to see why certain specimens have captured values not in thousands, not in hundreds of thousands, but in the realm of millions, with legendary stories passed through the coin community about private sales and secretive auctions where collectors, investors, and even institutions bid ferociously for ownership of such rarities. And beyond these visible errors, there are subtle anomalies like die cracks where aging dies develop fissures leading to raised lines across the coin's surface, cuds where a piece of the die breaks off creating a blank blob in the coin design, and broad strikes where the collar that holds the planchet in place during striking fails, leading to coins with expanded and distorted rims. And while many of these might seem minor, when they appear on historically significant issues like the 1980p quarter, their value escalates dramatically, especially when combined with pristine condition or when tied to rumors of unique one-of-a-kind survival. And here lies another factor in the $17 million valuation, the condition of the coin itself, because most quarters from 1980 circulated heavily, receiving scratches, nicks, and general wear, but a rare mint-era coin in pristine mint-state condition with full luster, sharp details, and strong eye appeal instantly becomes a once-in-a-lifetime find for collectors. And grading agencies like PCGS or NGC authenticate and encapsulate such coins, often awarding them MS65, MS67, or even MS68 grades, and those top-tier grades transform rarity into a financial phenomenon, pushing valuations into the stratosphere. And imagine the excitement of a collector or even an ordinary citizen discovering such a coin in pocket change, realizing they are holding not just 25 cents but a potential multimillion-dollar piece of history. That shock and awe fuels the mythology surrounding the 1980p quarter. A mythology amplified by stories in collector magazines, auction catalogs, and online communities, with whispers of one particular specimen featuring a doubled die, struck on the wrong planchet, in flawless mint-state condition, which reportedly changed hands in a private deal for a staggering $17 million, a figure that captures attention and skepticism but also highlights how supply, demand, and human passion can assign immense value to objects otherwise overlooked. And when we talk about value, it is not just the financial worth but the cultural and emotional worth too, because these coins become symbols of the unexpected treasures in life, proof that something ordinary can become extraordinary. And stories like these inspire thousands to check their pockets, their piggy banks, their family heirloom collections in search of the next legendary coin. And the 1980p quarter serves as a perfect example of how tiny mistakes made during production can ripple through decades and become million-dollar marvels. And to fully appreciate this journey, we need to think about the historical context of 1980 America, a time of economic change, inflation worries, and shifts in minting technology as the U.S. Mint adapted to modern needs. And within that context, even a simple error became emblematic of human imperfection meeting industrial machinery, leaving behind a physical trace of history for us to cherish. And when rarity, beauty, error, and condition all align in one coin, you end up with something that defies logical monetary value and instead enters the realm of myth, legend, and lore. And that is why the 1980p quarter is not just another coin but a story worth telling, a treasure worth hunting, and a symbol of possibility for everyone listening right now, because who knows, the next time you get change back at a store, you could unknowingly be holding a piece of American history worth millions. And that excitement, that chance of discovery, is what makes this hobby so thrilling. So we thank you for joining us on this incredible exploration of the 1980p quarter dollar coin and its journey from ordinary to extraordinary, from a face value of 25 cents to a jaw-dropping $17 million. And if you enjoyed learning about this fascinating story and want to hear more tales of hidden treasures, unbelievable valuations, and the magic behind everyday change, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned for even more amazing discoveries that might just change the way you look at the coins in your own pocket. Next, 1995p quarter dollar coin. Today we're unraveling the incredible story of the 1995p quarter dollar coin, a coin that has sparked unbelievable attention in the numismatic community because of the reports, rumors, and confirmed cases of it being worth up to $9 million due to its unique set of errors, mistakes, and production anomalies that make it so rare and so sought after. And in this video we'll explore why a simple 25-cent piece from 1995 could command such an astronomical value. What kinds of minting mishaps could lead to this rarity? What possibilities exist that make collectors go wild for these quarters? And why you should keep an eye out for coins that most people would overlook, because the story of this quarter is as much about history, minting technology, and chance as it is about money. So sit tight as we take this journey into the details of the 1995p quarter dollar and its multi-million-dollar legend. And to begin with, we have to understand that the Philadelphia Mint, where this coin was struck, was handling billions of coins during the 1990s, and when you're working at such massive production scales, even tiny errors or deviations in the die, planchet, or striking process could create anomalies. And these anomalies are exactly what collectors cherish because they represent moments where the ordinary became extraordinary, where a regular quarter was transformed into something unique, something that no other coin shares. And in the world of coin collecting, uniqueness translates directly into value. And when we speak of the 1995p quarter, the key lies in the minting errors such as double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, and die cracks that make certain specimens unlike anything else. And the more dramatic and visible the error, the higher the value. Now imagine that in 1995 certain dies were misaligned just enough to produce visible doubling, especially on the inscriptions like Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date. This kind of doubling is known as a double die error, and when it occurs, it essentially means that during the hubbing process the die received two impressions that were not perfectly aligned. So when coins were struck with that die, every coin showed those double details. And when collectors find such coins, they know they are looking at something far rarer than the typical quarter. And in the case of the 1995p, doubled dies have been reported, some extremely dramatic and visible to the naked eye, making those coins prime targets for collectors and driving their value way past their face value. But doubling is just one aspect, because another type of error that adds enormous value is the off-center strike, which happens when the blank planchet is not seated correctly in the collar during the striking process. leading to a coin that shows only part of the design while the rest is blank, and the more extreme the off-center, the more unusual the coin looks, and the higher the desirability, with some 1995 p-quarters showing significant off-center errors where George Washington's profile is shifted far to one side, leaving blank crescent-shaped areas on the coin. And these are the types of mistakes that collectors are willing to pay big money for. But even beyond that, there are reports of coins struck on the wrong planchet, meaning instead of being struck on a copper nickel-clad quarter blank, they were mistakenly struck on dime, penny, or even foreign coin planchets that happened to be in the mint presses at the time, and when such errors occur, they create coins that are unmistakably different, lighter, smaller, or oddly colored compared to the normal quarter, and because they should never have left the mint, they become prized treasures in the collector market, with values soaring depending on the rarity of the mistake. And then we come to die cracks and cuts, which occur when a die becomes worn or damaged, causing raised lines or missing areas of design on the struck coin. And in 1995 some quarters have been found with dramatic die breaks that almost look like extra features on the coin, and collectors love these because they are physical evidence of the minting process breaking down under pressure. And when you think about how few survive in collectible condition, it becomes clear why a coin like this could command such enormous figures. And while not every 1995 p-quarter is worth a fortune, the specific examples that combine rarity, dramatic errors, and strong demand have created stories where single coins fetched incredible sums, and in the most legendary cases, one of these coins with a perfect storm of errors and high-grade preservation has been valued at up to $9 million. And when you consider that this is a coin that most people would toss into a vending machine without a second thought, it makes you realize just how astonishing the world of coin collecting can be, because at its core it is about searching through the ordinary to find the extraordinary. And these mistakes are not just random accidents, they are moments of history captured in metal, frozen forever as a testament to the quirks and imperfections of human and mechanical processes. And that is what makes the 1995 p-quarter such a legend. Now think about the possibilities. Imagine you're going through your spare change, and you come across a quarter that looks slightly off. Maybe the design is shifted, maybe the letters look doubled, maybe the coin feels lighter or thinner than normal. In that moment you might be holding a treasure, because these are exactly the kinds of clues that lead collectors to identify million-dollar coins, and the excitement of this possibility has fueled a frenzy of searching, with thousands of people looking through their coins hoping to find a 1995 p-quarter with one of these fabled errors. And while most won't find the rarest examples, many do stumble upon minor errors or interesting die varieties that still command premiums. And that makes the hunt itself thrilling. And when you consider that the Philadelphia Mint produced over 1 billion quarters in 1995, the odds might seem slim. But within that massive sea of ordinary coins lie a handful of extraordinary mistakes, and those few are enough to keep the legend alive. And the key takeaway is that errors, far from making a coin worthless, actually make it priceless if they are rare enough, dramatic enough, and preserved in good condition. And this flips the logic of everyday life on its head, because usually we think of mistakes as flaws. But in coin collecting, mistakes are miracles. They are what transform a coin from pocket change into a life-changing fortune. And that is why the 1995 p-quarter dollar story continues to fascinate, inspire, and captivate anyone who hears it. So as you follow along with this journey, always remember to look closely at your coins, study the details, because history shows us again and again that treasures hide in plain sight, and the next legendary discovery could be sitting in your wallet right now, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. And this is why the tale of the 1995 p-quarter valued at $9 million is not just a story about money, but about possibility, chance, and the enduring human fascination with rarity and uniqueness. So if you enjoyed exploring this incredible story of mistakes turned into miracles and ordinary turned into extraordinary, don't forget to like this video, share it with others who love the thrill of hidden treasures, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another deep dive into the amazing world of coins and collectibles. Next, 1987 d-quarter dollar coin. Today, as we dive into one of the most fascinating, surprising, and engaging stories from the world of rare coin collecting, A story that shows how something as ordinary as pocket change can turn into a life-changing treasure, and today's spotlight is on the 1987 $quarter coin. A coin that in normal circumstances would only be worth 25 cents, but because of its remarkable and unusual errors and mistakes has been valued at an astounding $5.76 million. A figure that leaves collectors, investors, and casual hobbyists alike stunned, curious, and eager to learn more about how such a simple piece of American currency could achieve such legendary status. So stay with us as we unpack everything from the history of the coin, the minting process, the errors that make it so unique, and the possibilities that push its value to heights beyond what most people could ever imagine. Because this is not just a story of a coin, it's a story of chance, history, mystery, and the incredible human passion for finding treasure in unexpected places. And it all starts with the background of the 1987 quarter itself, which was produced at the Denver Mint, one of the most prolific and respected branches of the U.S. Mint, striking millions upon millions of coins in the year 1987, coins meant to circulate through the everyday economy. Coins that would find their way into vending machines, cash registers, and wallets across America, coins that were never expected to be anything more than useful pieces of everyday life. Yet among those countless standard issues, a handful of quarters emerged with errors so striking and so unusual that they immediately caught the attention of sharp-eyed collectors who knew that minting mistakes often turn ordinary coins into highly prized rarities. And in this case, the 1987 quarter is legendary because of the unique combination of errors that appeared on certain examples, errors ranging from double strikes, where the coin was pressed twice slightly off-center, leaving a ghostly and distorted image of George Washington's profile or the eagle on the reverse, to off-center strikes where the design elements spill out toward the rim, or leave blank crescent-shaped areas that were never struck at all, to planchet errors where the blank metal disc used for the coin was flawed, clipped, or incomplete, and sometimes even struck on the wrong type of planchet altogether, which created incredible oddities such as a quarter struck on a nickel or penny planchet, making it not only historically fascinating but also visually stunning to the collector's eye. And in the world of numismatics, visual appeal combined with rarity is everything, which is why collectors are willing to pay such extraordinary sums for these coins. But beyond the errors themselves lies the deeper story of why the 1987 quarter has captured such immense value, because in 1987 the United States Mint was operating under very tight conditions with millions of coins produced every day, meaning quality control was strained, and the Denver Mint, though known for efficiency, occasionally let significant mistakes slip through, and the rarity of these surviving coins, coupled with the cultural nostalgia for the 1980s era, where everything from pop culture to economic shifts plays a role in how collectors view artifacts, pushes their desirability higher. So when you take a coin from 1987 with an error that should have been caught but wasn't, combine it with pristine condition examples that somehow escaped circulation, add in the passionate demand from collectors who see it as a once-in-a-lifetime treasure, and top it off with auction houses eager to showcase a story that captures media attention, you end up with coins that can fetch prices like $5.76 million. A number that may seem surreal but has been justified time and again by the incredible competition among elite collectors, investors, and museums that want to secure such a rare piece of American history. And when you consider the types of mistakes that make these coins so valuable, you begin to realize that the possibilities are endless, because no two era coins are exactly alike, and each one tells its own story, whether it's a dramatic die crack that runs across Washington's portrait, creating the so-called Scarface effect, or a broad strike error where the coin was struck without the collar, causing it to spread out wider and flatter than normal, or the coveted double die errors where elements of the lettering like Liberty or In God We Trust appear doubled, giving the coin a mysterious and eye-catching look. And because the 1987 quarter was struck in huge numbers but only a tiny fraction of those display such errors, the rarity factor skyrockets, and rarity is the cornerstone of value in the coin world. But beyond rarity is the condition, because even an error coin must survive in excellent condition to reach astronomical value, and the few surviving 1987 D quarters with such mistakes that have been graded at top levels like mint state 65, 66, or even higher by professional grading services are considered the pinnacle of the hobby, often leading to bidding wars where wealthy collectors push prices into the millions. And it is not just about owning a coin, it is about owning a piece of American minting history. A conversation piece that connects us to the past, and a tangible symbol of how chance and human error can create incredible treasures. And when we think about the possibilities of why one of these coins is worth $5.76 million, we have to consider not just the physical coin itself but also the psychological and cultural weight it carries, because people are fascinated by the idea of hidden treasure, by the thought that something so small and ordinary could turn out to be life-changing wealth, by the thrill of searching through change and wondering if they might hold the next multi-million-dollar rarity in their hand. And that is what fuels the market, drives the passion, and sustains the incredible stories behind coins like the 1987 D quarter. So whether it's the off-center strike, the double die, the wrong planchet, the die cracks, the broad strikes, the repunched mint marks where the D from Denver was struck more than once leaving a shadowy doubling effect, or the countless other unusual variations, each error adds another layer of intrigue and another reason why collectors would go to extraordinary lengths to secure such a coin. And when auction houses tell the story of these coins, they emphasize not just the technical aspects but also the drama, the journey of how a humble quarter survived decades without being noticed until finally revealed to the world as a treasure worth millions. And it is this blend of chance, history, rarity, condition, and collector demand that cements the 1987 D quarter's place in the Numismatic Hall of Fame, making it one of the most sought after and talked about era coins of modern times. And as you sit back and reflect on this incredible story, remember that treasures like these remind us that history is alive, that even the smallest everyday objects carry stories of craftsmanship, mistakes, survival, and discovery, and that the next time you hold a quarter in your hand you might just be holding a fortune without even realizing it. Which is why the 1987 D quarter valued at $5.76 million is more than just a coin, it is a symbol of possibility, of chance turning into fortune, and of the endless excitement of the treasure hunt that keeps collectors searching, hoping, and dreaming. And with that thought we encourage you to stay curious, stay excited, and always keep an eye on the coins that pass through your hands, because who knows, your next piece of change might just be the key to a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And if you enjoyed this journey into the incredible world of rare coins and the amazing story of the 1987 D quarter dollar, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more unbelievable stories of hidden treasures, and join us next time as we uncover even more secrets from the fascinating world of numismatics. Last, today's story revolves around the remarkable 1998 P quarter dollar coin, which has shocked collectors and enthusiasts worldwide with reports of it being worth an astonishing $10.3 million, all because of its errors, mistakes, and unique striking anomalies that transform what seems like pocket change into one of the most sought-after rarities in numismatic history. So if you've ever wondered how an everyday coin you might easily overlook could suddenly be worth more than a luxury mansion, rare cars, and even more than entire businesses, then you're in the right place, because we are going to peel back layer after layer of history, minting techniques, striking mishaps, and collector frenzy to understand why this 1998 P quarter is considered one of the most valuable era coins ever produced, and how such a small piece of metal came to symbolize big money in the numismatic community. And as we dig into this journey, let's begin by looking at the historical backdrop of 1998, when the United States Mint was preparing for a major shift, since just 1 year later in 1999 the state quarter program would begin, which forever changed the way Americans viewed their quarters. But in 1998 the design still bore the familiar Washington portrait on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse, a classic design that had been in use for decades. So in this transitional time period certain mistakes and striking issues were bound to occur, especially as the minting equipment prepared for the massive production demands of the coming years, and the Philadelphia Mint, denoted by the P mint mark, was responsible for producing hundreds of millions of quarters that year. Yet amidst those billions of strikes a handful of coins slipped through with errors so dramatic so visually stunning, or so technically peculiar that they captured the imagination of collectors everywhere, and created the legend of the 1998 P quarter worth millions. Now, when we talk about errors, we need to understand the categories that make them so desirable, such as double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, wrong planchet errors, die cracks, and misaligned dies, and the 1998 P quarter reportedly displays a mixture of these possibilities, making it one of the most fascinating cases ever studied. For instance, one of the most talked about versions of this coin features dramatic doubling on the obverse, where Washington's profile and inscriptions like "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" appear shadowed or duplicated due to die misalignment during striking. This doubling effect is a hallmark of some of the most valuable coins in U.S. history, such as the famous 1955 double die cent or the 1972 double die cent, and in the case of the 1998 P quarter, such doubling has driven collectors into bidding wars because clear, visible, dramatic doubling is not just a technical error but a piece of minting history frozen in metal. And another error variant tied to the 1998 P quarter is the off-center strike, where the coin's design is not properly centered on the blank planchet but instead shifted by 5%, 10%, 20%, or even more, and the more off-center the strike while still keeping date and mint mark visible, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes. Imagine holding a quarter where Washington's head is cut off by the edge of the coin, or where the eagle's wings are chopped at odd angles. Such dramatic off-center strikes transform a standard 25-cent coin into a collectible artwork, valued by both era coin collectors and general numismatists. And yet another error that has been tied to the 1998 P quarter legend is the possibility of wrong planchet strikes, meaning the quarter design was accidentally struck on a planchet meant for a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin. Such wrong planchet errors are exceedingly rare, and when found they fetch astronomical sums at auctions because they represent a total breakdown in minting procedure. And in the case of the 1998 P quarter, stories have circulated about examples struck on dime planchets resulting in smaller, lighter coins bearing quarter designs but missing key parts due to the undersized blank. These are the kind of mint blunders that make collectors' hearts race and wallets open. Adding to the frenzy is the possibility of broad strikes, where the coin is struck without the collar that normally contains its shape, resulting in a stretched, wider than normal coin with design elements spilling toward the rim. Broad struck coins can look bizarre, almost like they're melting, and collectors pay top dollar for such unique appearances. And still another form of error tied to this legendary quarter is the clipped planchet, where part of the blank metal disc was cut irregularly, resulting in a coin with a crescent-shaped missing section. These errors, though small, are highly collectible, especially when combined with other anomalies like doubling or misaligned dies. And when all these types of errors are taken into consideration, we can see why the 1998 P quarter became a magnet for stories, legends, and rumors of extraordinary valuations, because every error coin tells a story of human error, mechanical wear, or procedural oversight at the mint. And when the right kind of error is rare enough and visually stunning enough, collectors are willing to pay millions to own a piece of that story. But how does that add up to $10.3 million for a single quarter? That's the real question, and the answer lies in the combination of rarity, demand, provenance, and collector psychology. You see, numismatics is not just about metal and mint marks, it's about history, uniqueness, and the thrill of owning something no one else can have. When a coin like the 1998 P quarter surfaces with errors so dramatic that only a handful are known to exist, it becomes a trophy piece, a grail for serious collectors. And when wealthy collectors compete at auction for such pieces, the prices can skyrocket to levels that seem unbelievable to casual observers. And in this case, the reported sale of a pristine 1998 P quarter error coin for $10.3 million has become one of those legendary stories that ripple through the hobby, inspiring others to check their change jars, old coin rolls, and inherited collections in hopes of finding one of these golden tickets hidden among ordinary quarters. And while skeptics may question whether such a sale truly occurred or whether the reported valuation was exaggerated, what cannot be denied is that era coins from the 1990s, especially from the transitional years leading into the state quarters era, have exploded in value and popularity. so it's entirely plausible that an extraordinary example of the 1998 P quarter with jaw-dropping errors could command a once-in-a-lifetime price at auction. Let's also consider the psychology of rarity, and why mistakes sometimes outweigh perfection in the eyes of collectors. In everyday life we prize perfection, flawless gems, mint condition cars, but in numismatics imperfection often equals rarity and rarity equals value. A perfectly struck 1998 P quarter might be worth only face value, while a flawed one riddled with dramatic errors could be worth a fortune. And this inversion of value fascinates people because it shows how human error can transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. Now, diving deeper into the technical side of things, errors like doubling often occur when the die shifts slightly between strikes. Off center strikes happen when the blank planchet is misaligned in the striking chamber. Clipped planchets occur when the sheet metal feeding process overlaps improperly during punching. And wrong planchet errors occur when blanks of the wrong denomination or even foreign coins accidentally get mixed into the feed system. Each of these mishaps is rare enough on its own, but when they occur in the right context, such as a transitional year like 1998, when the mint was preparing to overhaul its quarter production, the result can be a perfect storm for collectible anomalies. Another layer to this story is how auction houses, grading services, and numismatic publications contribute to the lore of valuable coins. When a grading service like PCGS or NGC designates a coin as a major error or assigns it a high mint state grade, its value can multiply instantly. Combine that with coverage in collector magazines or news outlets, and suddenly the coin enters the realm of legend. And the 1998 P quarter has certainly benefited from this phenomenon as collectors spread the story of million-dollar quarters and inspire others to treasure hunt. But behind all the hype is a genuine truth that rare era coins have proven again and again to be among the most lucrative areas of collecting. And with the 1998 P quarter specifically, we see how a combination of dramatic errors, transitional year mystique, and collector demand culminated in the extraordinary figure of $10.3 million. Think about that for a moment. A coin designed to buy a pack of gum or feed a parking meter instead changing hands for more money than entire real estate properties. It's the kind of story that captures imaginations because it reminds us of hidden potential in the most ordinary of places. And that's what makes coin collecting such a thrilling pursuit. You never know when the next coin you pull from your pocket could be hiding a secret worth millions.